What's going on, everybody? This is the Game Plan Overtime Edition. I am joined by my guest, Alex Dunlap. If you haven't checked out the episode of the Game Plan, make sure you go back and do that. We're talking best ball drafts, rookies.
How
and
would
best
they have
ball
fucking
drafts.
gotten to this part if they didn't listen to the episode?
That's true. That is overtime. That's a great point. So yeah, why would you be listening to this? That would be weird to be like, let me just look out.
You can go back and listen again anyway, though, if you want, in case you missed.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Hey, I mean, hey, you listen to it again and again and again. It was a great episode. But, I just got a couple of rookie questions for you, Alex, here in the overtime session. First question being, let's just get to the brass tacks of it all. What rookies suck that people love? So who are you kind of just fading more than the consensus?
Well, I mean, some of these guys, I'm not sure. Let me just actually, you know what I should have done on this show about rookies? I should have pulled up my rookie work here.
You work with rookies at Russell?
My actual rankings. Guys that are just going a little bit. Look, I think that Rashee Rice landed in a good spot, but he's just a guy that through the process, man, every single step of the process, he continued to do things that made me a little bit less excited about him. At first, I said, this guy looks like Rashad Bateman. This dude broke every damn record at SMU. They broke Emmanuel Sanders' record. But you know, I do have some pretty good sources around that program who told me it's like, yeah, he's a good player, maybe a little bit of a me guy. You know, it was the first thing I heard about him. It's like a little bit of a me guy, whatever. Like all wide receivers are shit. I kind of want my wide receiver to be a me guy. But through the process, though, I went from thinking that he's like a Rashad Bateman to thinking he's more of a Marquez Callaway, just from an overall, just kind of his stylistically the way he is now. He does Rashee Rice. He does work out in Dallas with David Robinson at Always Open. We know very well that Patrick Mahomes is always there throwing to those always open guys down there at MJP or Michael Johnson Performance. And so those two had a chance to work together. I mean, it doesn't take too much to put two and two together that said he might have liked him during one of their throwing sessions. So I think that he could have had some input there. Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson both have been really shitty wannabe GMs, though. Every time they've told it, I mean, it was Lamar Jackson who wanted he had to have Marquise Brown over everybody else. Patrick Mahomes had to have Clyde Edwards-Helaire over Jonathan Taylor or anybody else.
Run.
Do you know surprisingly who the best GM has been as far as these quarterbacks to boss around? It's been Kyler Murray.
Well, and you know what's funny about that is he was told no up until this year, right?
Yep. He wanted Tristan Wirfs.
Great call.
He wanted Creed Humphrey. 2 for 2. And both times they said no. They didn't give him his lineman that he wanted. Like Kyler's got a better eye than either of these dudes. But yeah, I mean, I'll say Rashee Rice is somebody like we talked about earlier, going right now wide receiver 6. We had him consensus as our wide receiver 14 in this whole class. I mean, we have him behind Trey Palmer and Kayshon Boutte and Xavier Hutchinson and this kind of player. So, golly, my business partner Byron has Rashee Rice as his wide receiver 19 in the class.
Woof.
I would say that maybe does it feel to you like the hype for Jalin Hyatt has maybe died down just a little bit?
I feel like it's almost gone entirely.
The
fade is in now for Hyatt.
Yeah, so I wouldn't want to say that he's almost coming to where it's like I was just kind of looking at my sheet here, thinking to myself, well, there's a lot of volume there with the New York Giants. You know, passing attack. There's a lot of options, but they're not. It's like they're all like 6s and 7s. You know, they don't have a 10. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, they don't.
6s and 7s might be a little bit even too high to say for what Darius Slayton, Isaiah Hodgins, you know, these kinds. Wandale. Wandale's going to be. People forget Wandale's not going to play till halfway through the season. Who knows where Sterling Shepard is? Richie James is gone. Like Paris. I mean, has he made it through a complete season since he was like a sophomore in college? So, Jalin Hyatt, I'm just kind of beginning to think maybe people have totally forgotten about him. Maybe we're talking about guys who are Quentin Johnston is just going too early. He's wide receiver 3 off the board. And I think for Dynasty, I think Quentin Johnston's fine. I actually love him. I think he'll be good. He's going to be tied to a really good quarterback for the first 4 years of his career. But this year, I just think that there'll be an acclimation process. And I think he's going to get that acclimation process hard. He's going to get it hard just from what I've observed of him, seeing him live so much. It's going to take some
a terrible pro day, right? I mean, he had a historically bad pro day.
Yeah, very bad pro day. Not just from the testing, not just from the 3-cone. I mean, the 40 wasn't fast. What did they have his 40 at? They had it at 4.52. I forget what they had it at.
It was right around, I think at 4.5-ish. But I watched that thing on ESPN where they were like, oh yeah, like everyone was hyped about his 40 time. But I was like, man, in the moment, no one was really all that excited. We thought we were going to get way faster.
Well, we thought sub 4.5. We saw sub 4.5. I think he was 4.50 on his first, 4.52 on his second, but it was the 3-cone and the short shuttles that were just miserable, and he didn't want to work on them. The scouts had to beg him to come back over there. I think that for Quentin Johnston, it's going to be a very, very specialized role for him his first year, and for where he's going, it's too early. I'm looking at this here, and it looks like Jordan Addison, I think, is fine where he's going. We talked about earlier. I think Mingo is going early, going a little bit earlier than I would think he would go. Jaxon Smith-Njigba is going too early. It's just, I mean,
is there a situation though with JSN that he is just too good to ignore and he's just good right away, despite playing with Lockett and despite playing with DK?
Yes.
Like he could be something tells me he could be the one that destroys the value for the other guys.
Yeah, and he went to one of the spots. Like it's not quite like going to Philadelphia or like going to Miami, but it's certainly. I mean, you could think of better landing spots than to have to be competing with targets with DK Metcalf and with Tyler Lockett, who Tyler Lockett, like we talked about on the show. I mean, nobody takes a screenshot of their Tyler Lockett pick and posts it on Twitter because they're, what I'm saying, like nobody does that. Right. But
no one's like, yes.
If you look at his scoring profile, he's been unbelievable, even over the course of the last 2 years. It's not just going back, I mean, Tyler, to think that we're just going to write this dude off whenever he's like, let me just read you Tyler Lockett's scoring profile over the last 2 seasons and his percentage of games where he just goes absolutely ham. So if you look at it from just the perspective of their actual distribution of their kinds of games that they have, Tyler Lockett in 21.21% of games get you 25 or more PPR points. Okay, so let's compare that to people going ahead of him. Jerry Jeudy gets that 4% of the time. Terry McLaurin gets it 9. Keenan Allen gets it 4. Christian Watson has gotten it 7. DJ Moore's gotten it 6. DK Metcalf, his own teammates, only done that 11.43% of the time. Amari Cooper's done it 17.6% of the time. Deebo Samuel's done it 14% of the time. Chris Olave's done it 0% of the time, as much as I love him. Devontae Smith, 5.26% of the time. T. Higgins, 14.29. None of this is 21 yet, is it, Matt? Garrett Wilson, 11.76. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 18.75. Jalen Waddle, 17.65. A.J. Brown, 20. CeeDee Lamb, 11.11. Stephon Diggs, 10.81. You have to get up to Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson to find the guys with better scoring distributions of PPR games over 25 points over the last 2 seasons. But still, I mean, I understand he's old. He now has JSN to deal with, all the rest of it. But to me, the JSN thing, it feels like people are saying that I feel like it's more like now Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf have JSN to deal with. That to me feels a little bit more like could it be tough on them? Maybe. But it feels like JSN here is kind of like the Tank Bigsby that we were talking about in the earlier portion of the program.
Yeah, Jay, that's the problem is because Pete Carroll has shown in his tenure that he is all about meritocracy. I mean, he signed Matt Flynn to a ton of money, but Russell Wilson was able to beat him out. You know, he drafted Rashad Penny in the first round, but Chris Carson was able to beat him out. So he will put his best players on the field to try to win football games.
There was another quarterback in that mix too, wasn't there? It wasn't just Matt Flynn. That's gonna drive me. It was Matt Flynn, somebody else, and Russell Wilson, wasn't it?
Was there? I don't know. The only other quarterback I could think that was, obviously Hasselbeck's before that. I think it was. I know Wilson took over Flynn's perceived job after he had that one game for Green Bay and got a crazy money to go to Seattle. But I don't know if there was another one. I know Seneca Wallace pops in my head, but I think that was before
maybe
Matt Flynn too. Iowa State kid who could run the football.
I'm looking it up. I just typed in Matt Flynn, Russell Wilson, and it's not mentioning anybody else.
Yeah,
so maybe that was wrong. I thought that there was a 3-way deal that Russell Wilson came out of, but maybe it wasn't.
But even last year, everyone thought, okay, they traded for Drew Lock, so it's going to be his job. Nope. Geno Smith was able to beat him out, and he went with him. So my point is, JSN, if he's the best player, could easily go up that depth chart. But if Tyler Lockett's still the dude that Tyler Lockett has been for the last 6 seasons, where he's averaged over 1,000 receiving yards every single year since 2018, that could be bad for JSN. So I think that we'll have to wait to see how that plays out. But, I got to say, I can wipe all the sweat off my forehead because all the players you're naming here, Rashee Rice, Jonathan Mingo, those are the guys, the Jalin Hyatt, those are the guys I have really not been touching in my rookie.
But Jalin Hyatt's one that we need to start rethinking a little bit. We need to start rethinking Hyatt just a little bit.
Well, his value is falling enough to the point where I might as well.
That's the kind of way we need to think about this stuff, right? We need to think about it as like where the value meets our expectations. And now it just feels with Jalin Hyatt, you can start talking to yourself maybe and like, hey, he's fast, he's good. Like this guy doesn't have too hard a path to this. Like you don't have to squint too hard to see it, man. Some of these other guys, yeah, man, you gotta. It takes a pretty big squint.
It's like when you're going shopping and, you might be going up with your wife and she's showing you all these expensives, whatever. And you're like, nah, I don't really want it. And then she shows you something cheap that you don't think is that great. Be like, but listen, hear me out, babe. Hear me out. I mean, look at the structure of it. It's pretty sound. And I can fit it pretty easily. Get the boys over. We'll hang it up really quickly. I mean, I think we should think about this.
Yeah, man, for sure. So
well,
that's
Alex,
the
thank you.
Hyatt, man. That's the
Jalin Hyatt is like shopping with your wife when she brings up the cheapest option. You kind of like it, but Alex, you are certainly not a cheap option. I'm glad you were able to come hang out here on the Game Plan Overtime. So thank you very much, my man.
All right, Matt. I will talk to you soon, brother. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, you like that video? Be sure to subscribe and activate those alerts so you get notified as soon as new videos drop. And be sure to check out playerprofiler.com. We have all the tools for you to dominate every type of fantasy league. We have a draft kit, Dynasty Deluxe, data analysis, DFS Dominator, and don't forget the player rankings to rule them all.